Well, let's get on to the Burnley game then, because it was 2-2 at St Mary's back in October. Glenn, you can start with this one. They've made the change.
Oh no,
Sean Dyche. It's been 10 good years.
Sean Dyche, rest in peace.
The single biggest reason that they've stayed up every year, and he's gone. Just before we get onto the Saints side, it doesn't make sense, does it? Did any of us this week, when we saw that news, just go, "Oh yeah, I can see why they've done that"?
No. You know, I'm never a fan of Sean Dyche when we're playing them or about to play them or just after we played them. But when you take yourself out and look at what he's achieved at a club that size, it's absolutely remarkable. They don't spend any money or hardly spend any money, and he's been brilliant. He's kept, I don't know how many consecutive seasons. I know he got relegated once and he brought them straight back up.
This is 7, I think, this year.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy that they've got rid of him. But you know, a combination of the new owner they've got there and being where they are, it makes it not a surprise. But I actually think it's a shame. And I kind of, when I saw it, I thought, that makes me really annoyed, and I hope they get relegated. And then I remembered it was them or Everton.
So you want them both to go down?
Everton can get in the bin, and I kind of hope Burnley stay up. But I think they've made it more difficult for themselves. I mean, they had a decent result today away at West Ham.
Played quite well as well, to be fair.
Yeah, but I don't know what they're going to. You know, obviously they're going to bring in someone else. You would have thought. Whether that'll make any difference or whether it be done by Thursday, whether it'll make any difference. You would think that sacking a manager at this time, you've got someone lined up, because if you're just going to give it to, is it Mike Jackson, the guy? You know, if you're just going to do that, that's probably not the most inspiring. What differences are there going to be in your results and your performances, just promoting the number 2 sort of thing? So, at this stage. So I feel a bit sorry for Sean Dyche, but I'm sure he'll be sat in the pub watching the game, eating a pie with gravy on it or whatever.
Pub named after him.
Pub named after him. Yeah. I think, Glenn, you said last year or last time we played them, you know that they're never going to carve you open with brilliant football. So you've just got to do the basics right. Yeah. Is it going to be the same on Thursday, Steve? We know what, regardless of the manager, we kind of know what game we're going to get away at Burnley, don't we?
I think so, yeah. And I mean, I think the atmosphere there is going to be interesting to see how the fan reaction is because I imagine the fan reaction in Burnley has probably been, what the hell are we doing? Especially
there's been talk of a protest on Thursday before the game.
Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, for what I think there's a recognition that, I mean, it's a town where you can fit the entire population into Wembley with space. And for the job he's done to keep them in the top flight for whatever it is, seven years, as well as, I mean, at the end of the day, if they go down, who would have been better to get them back up than the guy who's, I think he's managed 2 seasons of Burnley in the Championship, and they've lost a total of 10 games. So, I mean, there's kind of nobody better suited to getting them back up if they did go down in eventually anyway. So yeah, I mean, seeing how the fans react and whether it suddenly turns into a less supportive atmosphere, that might work in our favour, or you end up with this the sort of backs against the wall sort of, right, let's just make this a cauldron atmosphere, in which case we could be under a spell of pressure. But I don't know. I mean, they were decent against West Ham today, but I mean, West Ham clearly expended a lot of energy in France in midweek, made a lot of changes, and didn't quite do enough. But I think, I mean, at the end of the day, Burnley are still third bottom for a very good reason. So we should be going there with the intent of winning the game, as opposed to what we've been doing the last couple in terms of just surviving. And you've just got to make the most of the opportunities, because they will give you some. Ben Mee's out for the foreseeable, as far as I'm aware, given that he's on the coaching staff now for sort of in this interim period. So it's Tarkowski and Nathan Collins, I think, that they signed from Stoke last year, who looks quite useful. But Tarkowski's out of contract in the summer. So I kind of wonder where his head's going to be at in the next month or two when he starts getting phone calls from prospective new employers and things like that. But I don't know. Let's go at them and see what happens. Hit them hard early, like we've done in a lot of games this season, and I think all of a sudden that gives you the impetus.
Yeah, it's a long trip for you on a Thursday, Dan. You're going to be hoping that we don't start with a back five again and at least get a few shots on target.
Yeah, most certainly. I agree with Steve. I think it has the potential, to be a real kind of cauldron for Burnley. But then if it's a horrible cliche, but if Southampton come out and they come out quick and they do get that kind of first goal, then they get an early goal and then another one. I mean, that place will just go toxic very, very quickly, I imagine, because all of the anger towards ALK and Alan Pace will then, I'm sure, come out, and that will obviously, the players will hear that will affect them. So for Southampton, it is just I'll ditch the back five and just go and be aggressive, be in Burnley's faces, put them under pressure. They're going to be under pressure, that's fine. Southampton have better players than Burnley, so put them under more pressure. And hopefully, if Brozier plays, he can kind of rediscover his scoring touch. And I think it's a great time to play Burnley. I really do. They're on the ropes. I think Everton have got a game in hand, haven't they, or 1 or 2 games in hand?
Just the one, I think. Yeah.
Just the one, but they're 4 points ahead.
3 now. After
3, right? So, I mean, the pressure will be on Burnley. Southampton just have to take advantage of that situation. I'm more confident going into it now than I would have been if Sean Dyche was still in charge. That's for sure.
Yeah. And Glenn, does yesterday kind of like act as a bit of a reset? So we've kept a clean sheet, so it's okay now to bring some of the other players back in. If we'd have lost yesterday, then we'd all be calling out for changes again, and we'd be searching for that first win since February. So is it kind of like the reset button's been pressed?
The 3 points takes the pressure off a little bit, because if we'd have lost yesterday, then it would have been seven games without a win.
Doesn't bear thinking about, does it?
And then getting beat by Burnley wouldn't have been terribly clever either. But as it is, we can go into this game with a bit more relaxed, and but obviously not too relaxed, because it's just going to be a battle from the first minute. I mean, I will say Burnley have maybe this is why they're down in the bottom. They do seem to have played a little bit more football this season. With Cornet seems a good player, and Cornet, however you pronounce it.
He's the one, isn't he? He's the one.
Yeah,
you just got to play him out the game.
But against that, they've replaced Chris Wood with that 6'9" giant geezer from Holland, Weghorst. So and he's been playing up front with Joe Rodriguez. So that's not the most subtle forward line. But Cornet and who's the other guy? O'Neill. They're McNeil. Sorry, they're decent players. So it's not all bang it out the middle to the big guy and hope for the best. So, but you just have to do the basics. And and we have to put them under pressure. If you allow the fullbacks or the wide players to sling crosses in, under no pressure, then you're going to create problems for yourself. So we have to get at them a little bit. We can't play like we did yesterday and just sit back, because 26% possession or whatever it was isn't sustainable. But I don't see why we can't go there and put up a decent performance. But
I think Burnley have only had 2 games this season where they've had more than half the possession.
Yeah.
So if they have 75 against us, there's something deeply wrong.
So we've all agreed it's a good time to be playing Burnley. So what are we going to go for predictions, Glenn? Do you want to go first? Needless to say, none of us called the Arsenal game, but that's fine. So we've got two bites of the cherry this week with 2 games. So prediction for Burnley first, Glenn.
I will go for a 1-0 win.
1-0 win. Dan, how do you see this one going?
Let's be optimistic. 3-1 Southampton.
3-1. Nice. Steve?
I'll go in the middle. 2-0. 2-0.
Happy days.